Everything is good. Everything is live, how it's supposed to be. I guess. Sort of. Kind of. I gotta remember I can't... Like, normally I'd pull my shirt down more. Unfortunately, like, this... So my mom got me these pajamas for Christmas. I don't think she intended them to be as, as they are. So... Ugh, my glasses look awful. I've got to get new glasses soon. I'm realizing that my glasses are like 3 or 4 years old, so I think it's time that I finally get some new ones. Yeah. New glasses definitely this year are what I need to do, because the blue light filtering coating is coming off, like my my scratch resistant coating is coming off and everything like that, so like, yeah. That's why there's like a weird glare on them. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe what I'll do is I'll get, like, I think I might get smaller glasses. Like, these are kind of big and thick. I think I might get something a little bit, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna keep the same frames, but I want to see if I can get, like, slimmer lenses, because I don't need them this big. I'm not that blind. I mean, I am that blind, but I'm not that blind. So, how is everybody? Did everybody have a good weekend? If you were on the East Coast, did you stay nice and warm? I know it was like, it was cold. It's definitely a cold weekend. So, yeah. Did everybody have a good weekend? We were supposed to get lots of snow. We did not get a lot of snow. We got, like, you're in SoCal, so not very cold. Yeah, so we were supposed to get, 8 to 12 inches of snow is what they called for, and then we ended up getting like 4 inches. 4 inches and 8 inches are not the same. They are not the same. Definitely not. So, I was glad we didn't have to do a whole lot of shoveling. The children were, however, very disappointed that we did not get more snow. And it's pretty much all gone now. But, even though it's almost all gone, the kids don't have school tomorrow. Nope, no school for the kids. They still have, like, so, hi Abby! So, my older kiddo, Mini Mando, has remote learning protocol, which is basically work from home, but school, so she has to sit on Zoom all day. And then Tiny Mando has an asynchronous learning day, which means they're going to throw some stuff up in a Google Classroom, and I'm just supposed to make sure she gets it done. Your dad is not excited about remote learning. But he gets to work from home. Thank you for the follow, Adaptive Gamer. If you are indeed a gamer, definitely make sure you follow me on the Purple app. So, hi Taylor, it has been a while. Yeah, I kind of was not streaming during the holidays. I did not have the spoons to do it between school and everything like that. I'm on my last week of my current set of classes, so my classes are only 5 weeks long, which is kind of nice. I'm definitely finding it easier. B-boy! I'm definitely finding it easier to do, like, 5-week classes instead of, like, 5-month classes. Because I can just, like, it works for my ADHD to, like, have, like, I don't know, it just works better for my ADHD. Because I've done traditional college, and then I did, like, Western Governors, which is, like, you have 6 months to complete. Oh, thank you for the follow! Thank you, Adaptive Gamer. You can follow me so I do stream Minecraft from time to time. So Minecraft is probably what I'm going to be streaming more recently. Yeah, I always did better at consolidated classes than I did on, like, the really long classes, I found. And like Western Governors, it was 6 months long, and you just had to like complete credits in 6 months. So you play so much Minecraft. I recently got into it, because it lets my brain like shut off for a little bit. So, you're from the UK, so hi from Tealand. I'm drinking tea. I had tea tonight. So yeah, I've found that like Colorado Technical University has like the perfect way, like the perfect classes and like the way they do their semesters for my ADHD. So they're concentrated, and they're kind of like a traditional class, but then they're also like not a traditional class, kind of a thing. Like it takes all of the things that like I struggled with in my previous college experiences that made it difficult for me as a person with ADHD, that now like it's fixing a lot of those problems. Yeah, so it's called Throat Coat. A lot of people don't like this one because the tea has licorice in it, and honestly, I don't really like licorice, but this particular one I like. Mainly because it's a dupe for another tea. It's 3 a.m. and you're eating a pot noodle. Okay, Adaptive Gamer. A pot noodle, in the United States, I think we call them ramen, right? It's like, it's cup of noodles, like it's a you put either you put water in it and you microwave it, or you boil the water first and you put it in and you let it steep for a little bit. Like, is that what a pot noodle is? I have had this question since watching an episode of Red Dwarf, and Lister says he'll eat anything but a pot noodle, and he hates a pot noodle, and I've meant to look it up, but I never have. So, you're in the mood for licorice. But yeah, pot noodle it's like, I think what we call is ramen or cup of noodles here in the United States. But I'm not sure. I've always wanted to know. Deep cut with Red Dwarf. Oh, I love Red Dwarf! I like a lot of, like, there's a lot of British shows that comedies that I like, particularly old school ones. Fawlty Towers, Red Dwarf, oh goodness gracious. Are You Being Served? Keeping Up Appearances, Mind Your Language, Brandon Noodles, a plastic cup of good. Okay, so we call them cup of noodles. Yeah, it's basically cup of noodles. That's what we call them. It's a brand called Cup of Noodles here in the U.S. Doctor Who. I like Doctor Who, but I don't think Doctor Who is a comedy. But I do like Doctor Who. What are some of the other ones? I mean, Keeping Up Appearances, I'd say, is more modern. That's 90s. Are You Being Served Again? Quote unquote Grace and Favor. Monty Python a little bit, but I wasn't super into Monty Python. Father Ted, which is technically Irish. Oh goodness gracious. I don't know the name of the show, or at least I can't remember the name, but it was basically British Mork and Mindy. I think it was called My Hero. But it was basically British Mork and Mindy with Ardal O'Hanlon. So yeah, there's a lot of like British shows that BritBox. I kept my BritBox sub for a long time, just because there was so many shows I was watching on it. Death in Paradise, Rosemary and Thyme, Father Brown. Yeah, I love British television. There's some Australian shows that I like too. Unfortunately, the one Australian show that I really liked, which was the Dr. Blake Mysteries, it turns out the guy who played Dr. Blake that I thought was really attractive turns out to be kind of a scuzz. So now I can't like the show anymore. Which is unfortunate because it was a good show. I've tried to get into Mrs. Brown's Boys, but I haven't really been able to get into it. I've tried. I just couldn't. It didn't quite do it for me. The UK version of Ghosts, I liked UK Ghosts. I like American Ghosts too. Mini Mando and I like to watch Ghosts pretty often. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. I don't know that one. I don't think I've ever watched that one. Someone was saying something about British TV shows the other day, and like, oh, Blackadder. There's another classic. Blackadder is one of the first British shows that I really got into. That is probably my most favorite is Blackadder. Season 2, 3, and 4 more so than season 1. I don't like season 1 as much. It's kind of goofy. They're all kind of goofy, but like seasons 2, 3, and 4. So Blackadder 2, or Blackadder the 2nd, Blackadder the 3rd, and Blackadder Goes 4th. Goes 4th is probably my favorite because it's got the 3rd and the 4th. They have a lot of Hugh Laurie in it, which is probably why I think it's the best. Ooh, that would be cool. I would like to see that. I would dig that. Your first British show was Mr. Bean. There's another one that, like, I tried to get into it and I couldn't. I am trying to stay warm, Silver. It is challenging. Let me tell you, it has been very chilly. But we didn't get a lot of snow, which was sad. The kids were really sad that we didn't get a lot of snow. Which is unfortunate. Mr. Bean is an alien. I like Rowan Atkinson. Like, the stuff that Rowan Atkinson has been, aside from Mr. Bean, I've really liked. But I never could get into Mr. Bean. Again, it's kind of like Monty Python. It's like hit or miss. Like, some stuff is really, really funny to me. And then other stuff, it never... I don't know. It just never really... It didn't really grow on me the way I would have liked. So... Alright, so it is time to read. I need to set up the live goal. Uno momento. Okay, B-boy. Basically British humor in a nutshell. It's hit or miss. I mean, one that I found that was by accident was like Mind Your Language. Mind Your Language was hysterical. But I don't think it would do well now. Like, the whole point of like Mind Your Language was that it was set in the 70s, English is a second language show, like that's what and I think like it would not do well today, because it does do a lot of stereotyping. They're fun, I just don't think it would do well. Live goals. Update. I hate the new interface. It's not letting me fix it. Seriously, I hate the new interface. I don't want a flash goal. I want to... Should have fixed it before I went live. I don't know. So, I guess we're only going to read 2 chapters tonight because I don't know how to set a gift goal up so that we do hit the 4 chapters. Yeah, that's just what we're going to go with. Because... yeah, I don't know how else to fix it. So, anyway, if you guys are new here, hi, I'm Mando. I read Star Wars books on the internet for fun. It gets me to read, and it gets you guys to listen to more Star Wars lore. Currently, we just started, literally last week, Maw Lockdown, which is a brand new book. Not a brand new book. It's brand new for me. We're going through the Legends timeline as we merrily go along. Yeah. So, this is the next book in the Legends timeline that we're going to read. After this, we're going to read Queen's Peril, which is technically not the Legends timeline, it's current canon, but it's part of its... So, some of the stuff, one of the things I'm noticing as we go through the Legends timeline is they do pull stuff from Legends and add it back into canon, because obviously it was canon at one point. So we are working our way through. We just started lockdown. We finished Death Troopers. Yeah. So come join us on our little journey as we go through the Legends timeline. Normally I would say I will read 2 chapters unless we hit the live goal, then we'll hit 4 chapters. Eventually one day I'm going to figure out how to get the Twitch goals to work. I don't know. I'm completely hopeless when it comes to these other applications. I've spent so much time on TikTok. I don't know how to use anything else. Yay. So, this is so weird because they're mirrored. So the way I look on TikTok and the way I look on my computer is completely swapped. Like it's mirrored imaged and it's really freaking me out. Yep. Anyway, warning, okay? As we learned when we read the first chapter, this is not a children's book. So if you are a child, you probably should not be listening to this book. It gets violent very, very quickly. Just as a small, scary side note, it escalated quickly in this book already, and that was within the first, 10 sentences. So just as a warning, it's not pretty. It gets kind of violent. It got violent very quickly. Last Friday? Excuse me. So just as a side note, if you are a child and you should not be listening to violence, don't listen. Okay? It's not a happy, shiny story, okay? When I say it's bedtime stories, we're just reading books. We're not reading, children's books. If you came for OB123, that's not tonight. So, thank you for the heart me. So yeah, just as a side note, this book has so far not been for children. Okay. Great. Chapter 3. Hot Mess. Oh, it's like my life. Maul moved across the prison mess hall like a predator recently released from its cage, passing sleekly through the mob, parting it with scarcely a glance. Some of the inmates took an uneasy step back to allow him to pass, while others simply froze in place. Heads swiveled to watch him as he went. The continuous ambient drone of voices dropped to whispers, and the whispers lapsed into watchful, estimating silence as he made his way among them. He walked to the last table and sat down. On the other side of the table, 2 inmates who had been in the middle of an argument, one a pallid, frightened-looking human with a 4-day stubble, the other a gotal that appeared to be missing an eye, stopped talking, picked up their trays, and made a hasty departure. Maul sat motionless, observing everything around him without giving any indication that he was doing so. Although his peripheral vision still hadn't fully recovered from last night's attack, he saw enough to realize he had become the current object of everyone's attention. Even the guards up in the catwalks overhead seemed to have gone on high alert, each with one hand on their blasters, the other resting on the small flat consoles that they wore on their belts. From both inmates and guards, Maul could smell a certain unmistakable commingling of fear, desperation, and the grinding monotony of paranoia that emerged when living things were penned up together in close quarters for indefinite spans of time. It disgusted him. Yet, for the time being at least, it was home. He had stepped aboard this floating sewer less than 24 standard hours earlier, and in that time he'd come to understand all that he needed to know about that place. The rest of his time inside, he knew, would simply be a question of patience, of accomplishing his mission here without being discovered for what he truly was. Neither of these things would be difficult for him. They were simply the mandates of his assignment, and as such beyond all question. His arrival on Cog Hive 7 had been courtesy of the only transport of the day, a nameless prison barge with a stripped-down interior that reeked of high-carbon anthracite and unwashed flesh. The cargo hold was stocked with 37 other inmates whose presence Maul barely registered after gauging none of them were worth a moment of his time. They were a foul-smelling, nit-infested lot comprising of a dozen different species, some clearly deranged and muttering to themselves, and others staring blankly through the vessel's only viewport, as if something in the depthless black void might give perspective to their pointless and insubstantial lives. Throughout it all, Maul had sat apart from his fellow inmates in absolute stillness. Some of them, apparently, couldn't wait to start fighting. As the trip wore on, boredom became restlessness, and scuffles had broken out as sidelong glances and petty grievances erupted into acts of seemingly unprovoked violence. Several hours into the journey, an over-muscled ectomorph with bulging crab-stalk eyes had leaped up and lunged at a Rhodian, who had somehow managed to smuggle aboard a whip band that he'd sharpened, and apparently planned to use as a makeshift vibroblade. The fight hadn't lasted long, and only when the blade-bearer had accidentally bumped into him, Maul had glanced up long enough to drive an elbow upward and shatter the Rhodian's lower spine. The guard on board hadn't even blinked as the Rhodian pitched over sideways, wailing, paralyzed to the deck, where he lay whimpering for the duration of the trip, gazing up through moist and pleading eyes. It was the only time during the entire trip that Maul had moved. When they'd finally docked, a retinue of fatigued-looking corrections officers had met them in the hangar, herding them down the berthing port with static pikes and go sticks, running the biometric scans as the new inmate shambled forward. Ugh. Hi, 90s! Blinking into the unfamiliar surroundings, Maul had seen more guards at this point in processing than anywhere else aboard the space station. At the end of the line, he stood motionless as a jumpy young CO, whose ID badge read Smite, swept a band over him, scanning for infection and hidden weapons. There was no mistaking the tremor in the man's hand as he passed the wand in front of Maul's face. "You know what you're here for, maggot?" Smite had asked, struggling to hide the quaver in his voice behind a pitiful note of bravado. Maul had said nothing. "Aw, thank you, 90s. 22 standard hours a day," Smite told him. "You're free to roam the gallery and mess hall. Twice a day, when you hear the clarion call go off, you return to your cell for matching." The guard swallowed, the bump in his throat bulging up and down. Any attempt to escape results in immediate termination. Failure to report back to your cell for matching will be treated as an escape attempt and will result in immediate termination. You got that? Maul had just stared back at him, waiting for the guard to finish his business and back away. As he'd walked away, he heard the young CO find enough courage to snarl out one final declaration. "You'll die in here, maggot." They all do. Medbay had come next. An hour's worth of decontamination and tox screens, narrow readouts, and electrocephalograms administered by uninterested droids. After a long round of ultrasonic full-body scans, a refurbished GH-7 surgical unit had inserted a long syringe into Maul's chest and then withdrew it, only to plunge it back in again at a slightly different angle. A final scan had confirmed whatever the droid had done to him, and the CO at the far end of the concourse had waved him forward. Afterward, 2 more officers, armed with E-11 assault blasters, had appeared and led him through a circuitous network of increasingly narrow concourses. The final walkway headed unceremoniously to his cell, a featureless, alloy-plated dome, perhaps 3 meters in diameter. The carbon composite floor was the color of dirty slate, a single air vent whirred overhead. Stepping inside, Maul had hunched on the single narrow bed, gazing at the only light source, an unremarkable panel of blinking yellow lights on the opposite wall. "This is where you'll come for lockdown and matching," one of the guards had told him. He was a grizzled older man, a veteran whose ID badge identified him as Voice-Doc. You hear the clarion wherever you are. You have 5 standard minutes to get back here before lockdown, or before you're terminated. Maul looked at him coldly. "Terminated?" "Yeah, I guess nobody told you," the guard nodded, down at the flat gray control unit strapped to his hip. "We call this thing a drop box. Want to know why?" Maul just gazed at him. "Oh, you're a hard case, right?" Voice-Doc snorted. "Yeah, they all start out that way. See, every inmate that comes through medbay gets a subatomic electrostatic detonator implanted in the walls of his heart. Both your hearts, since apparently you've got 2 of them. What that means is, I type in your prison number here, 11240. He ran his fingers over the drop box's keypad. "Those charges go off, and that's when you drop. Permanently." Maul said nothing. "But hey," Voice-Doc said with a crooked grin, "tough guy like you shouldn't have a problem here." He reached up and patted Maul's cheek. "Have yourself a nice day, right?" They left the hatch open behind them, but Maul had stayed in his cell, crouched motionless, allowing his new surroundings to creep in around him in the slow accretion of physical detail. There were words scratched on the walls, graffiti in a dozen different languages, the usual cries of weakness, pleas for help, forgiveness, recognition, quick death. The bench was equipped with handy grips, their surface worn smooth by hundreds of palms, as if the inmates who'd occupied the cell before him had all needed something to hold on to. Maul had dismissed this detail as irrelevant. Until the clarion had sounded. Then he sat up, snapped into total alertness as the panel of yellow lights in front of him stopped blinking and turned solid red. The signal keened for 5 minutes. From outside, Maul had heard voices along the frantic scuffle and clang of footsteps on floorboards, as inmates hurried back to their cells. As the alarms cut off, he heard the sounds of cells around him sealing shut. The walls had started shaking. Complicated scraping noises came from somewhere deep inside the prison's infrastructure itself, gnashing together in complicated arrangements of pneumatics. Reconfiguration. Maul looked down. The floor beneath him had already begun to bow downward into a bowl shape as the dome became a perfect sphere. And the cell had begun to turn. Only then had the well-worn handygrips on the bench made sense. He'd taken hold of them for support, hanging on as his cell rotated completely upside down and backward again, then barrel rolled sideways like a flight simulator with a broken oscillation throttle. Throughout it all, the metallic clacking and clanging continued as the various plates of his cell reshaped themselves around him. When the rotation stopped, a recessed hatchway had hissed open into what appeared to be another empty cell, thick with shadow and little else. At first, Maul had simply stood gazing into it. Then he'd taken a step inside. By the time he'd picked up the presence of another life form behind him, the warrior with mismatched arms and the weird living staff, the first blow had already come. And now, sitting in the midst of the mess hall, feeling the eyes of the other prisoners upon him, sensing the slow accumulation of tension gathering around him like electrically charged flow of ionized particles, Maul realized that the inmates of Cog Hive 7, both individually and collectively, were already planning his demise. Let them. It will only make your task easier. From everything he'd gleaned so far, the prison was an open sewer, its circular layout fostering an illusory sense of false-bottom freedom among the incarcerated. In actuality, the prisoner's ability to roam unimpeded between fights only heightened the steadily percolating sense of animosity among them, the willingness to rip one another to pieces at the slightest provocation. Ah, thank you for the follow! Maul allowed his thoughts to cycle back to the electrostatic detonators that the droid had implanted in the chambers of both his hearts. Tiny seeds of death the population of Coghide 7 carried around with them every day. In the end, for all of these pathetic creatures, freedom was nothing but the promise of oblivion. No matter what they had done to land themselves here, whatever they were running from or dreamed of or hoped to achieve, those detonators, mere microns in diameter, represented the totality of their lives, and the ease with which they could be taken away. Ah, bonjour! Well, I guess it's not bonjour. It would be bon nuit? Right? Ah, thank you, Cool Beans. Hello, Crystal! Is it bon nuit? Is that what it would be tonight? I know that's good night, but because it's what? 3 a.m.? 4 a.m. in Paris? Somewhere along those lines? Where was I? You are to locate Iram Radiq, Sidious had told him back on Coruscant during their final moments together. And then, perhaps sensing the physical reaction that Maul himself had not been quite able to suppress, the Sith Lord had added, "It will not be as easy as it sounds." According to Sidious, Radiq was a highly reclusive arms dealer, legendary throughout the galaxy, a ghost whose base of operations was located somewhere within Coghive 7. Although no one, even Sidious himself, could confirm this fact. Radiq's true identity was a closely guarded secret. As an alleged inmate in the prison, he operated exclusively behind a constantly shifting palimpsest. Alright, that's a new word, people. Palimpsest. This is a new word. Alright, let's learn what this word means. Palimpsest. A manuscript or piece of writing material on which the original writing has been effaced to make room for later writing, but which traces remain. Palimpsest.
Palimpsest.
Palimpsest. Alright! Fun new word. Yay! Behind a constantly shifting palimpsest of middlemen and fronts, guards and inmates, and corrupt officials, both inside and outside its shifting walls. Those who served him, directly or indirectly, might not know whom they were working for, or if they did, they could never have identified his face. "You will not leave Coghive 7, Sidious told him, until you have identified Radiq and met with him face to facilitate the business at hand. Is that understood?" It was. Maul looked around the mess hall again at the hundreds of inmates who were now staring at him openly. At the next table, 2 human prisoners, they appeared to be father and son, were sitting close together as if for mutual protection. The older one, a powerfully built, scarred-looking veteran of 1,000 battles, was holding a piece of string with knots tied at carefully measured intervals, while the younger one looked on in mute fascination. 3 tables down, a group of inmates hunched over their trays, groping with utensils. When one of them lifted his head, Maul realized that the man's eyes were missing, as if they had been gouged out of his skull. Had they happened in one of the matches? The man's hand found his fork, and he began, tentatively, to scoop food in his mouth. Across the room, another inmate, a Twi'lek, was glaring directly at Maul. Behind him, a Weequay with a sun-baked face like a desert cliff and a half-dozen top-knot braids stood expressionless. Watchful. Any of them could have been Radiq, Maul thought, or none of them. Maul scanned the rest of the mess hall, absorbing all of it in a single sweeping glance. There were 100 alliances here, he sensed. Gangs and crews, whole webs of social order whose complexity would require his close attention, if he was going to find his way among them to complete the mission for which he'd been dispatched. And time was not something he had unlimited quantities. It was time to get to work. Picking up his tray, he dumped the remains of his meal in the nearest waste bin and cut diagonally across the mess hall. There were groups of inmates clustered around the exit, and he turned left, following the wall, to a hatchway in the corner, from which the smell of cheap prison food came wafting out, mixed with the stench of cleaning solution. Exactly what he looked for. He slipped inside. Everyone still awake? Oh. Yeah, it was a good word. We learned a new word. I think that's one of the fun things that, like, when we do these nightly readings and stuff like that, it's been kind of nice because then we learn new vocab. Right? We're learning new words, which is fun. I enjoy learning new words. Palimpsest. I don't think I'm going to be using it anytime soon, but good new word. Chapter 4. Coil. The prison's kitchen was like every kitchen Maul had ever been in, frantic and noisy and breathless, clamoring with enough inmates and service droids that he could slip among them without attracting much notice. Every surface was cluttered with bulk food and utensils. Massive blocks of half-thawed bantha patties dripped from the counter. Enormous pots boiled on the stove. Bantha patties. That does not sound appetizing. The sticky air reeked of cheap synthetic protein, gravy, and starch, all of it billowing in the steam of the massive industrial-sized dishwater bolted to the floor in the corner, where endless rows of trays jutted through the scalding sprays on the automated belt. Maul approached the dishwasher, studied it for a moment, then picked up a large, unused pressure cooker from the cabinet behind him. Next to it, he found a bottle of ammonia-based cleaning solution and a silica bicarbonate, poured them in together, and sealed the pressure cooker, placing it onto the conveyor belt among the trays and sending the whole thing directly into the 400-degree heat of the machine. "Hey, buddy," one of the inmates said. "What's your business here?" "Trouble." Maul turned around and stared at him. "You want some?" The inmate went pale so quickly that his face almost seemed to disappear. "Hey, you're right," he said, hands raised, voice shaking. "I didn't see anything." Maul waited as the inmate backed away, then turned and walked out. Re-entering the mess hall, he leaned against the wall and waited. 10 seconds later, a loud metallic bang erupted from inside the kitchen, followed by shouts of surprise. The noise had an immediate effect on the mess hall. Maul watched as 2 gangs of inmates jumped instinctively together in response to the sound, gathering on either side. In the middle of the room, the older human fighter he'd noticed earlier swung out one hand in a projective gesture around the boy. 3 inmates sprang forward, seemingly out of nowhere, placing themselves to protective stances around the Twi'lek inmate, whom Maul had been studying earlier. In the midst of everything, only one inmate, a diminutive Chadrafan, his growth so stunted that he scarcely stood 3 feet tall, never even looked up. Throughout it all, he continued happily eating his breakfast, picking out the small bones and humming to himself as if nothing had happened. As order returned to the mess hall, Maul walked over to him and sat down directly across from him. "Hello, brother." The Chadra fan glanced up, grinning. His large front incisors fully exposed, rodent-like ears twitching on his flat, as his flat, slightly upturned nose wiggled as if trying to catch a better whiff of Maul. Or perhaps he was still sniffing his breakfast. The putty-colored block of gelatinous synthetic protein clutched in his free hand. Reaching into it, he pulled out a small, thin bone and held it up appreciatively. "The greatest treasures are found in the unlikeliest of places, don't you think?" "Who are you?" Maul asked. The Chad fan responded with a humble nod. "Coil's the name, but I'm just a micro here. Nobody among nobodies, aren't I? You don't want to waste your time with me, brother." Maul leaned forward to speak into his ear. "You're the only one who didn't jump when the explosion went off," he said. "Why?" Coil smiled shyly. "Noticed you slipping into the kitchen, didn't I? Already stirring the pot a little? Did you get the information that you were looking for?" "Who's the Twi'lek?" Maul asked, "the one whose other inmates moved in to protect." The Chadra fan ignored the question, sizing Maul up from across the table. "Big one, aren't you? A lot bigger than you looked on the holovid." He crammed the remains of his meal into his mouth, chilled for a moment, and then stopped, fishing out another bone and placing it on the growing collection in the corner of his tray. "I'm looking for someone," Maul said. "Aren't we all?" Quail asked pleasantly enough, brushing the last of the crumbs from his whiskers. "Quite a brawl last night, wasn't it? Off that ugly tosser in less than 5 standard minutes, didn't you? Brother needs some wicked fierce skills to fight like that, doesn't he, then? And we ask ourselves, who trains the wrecker to do his wrecking?" "I'm looking for Iram Radik." "Radik, then, is it?" Coil narrowed his eyes and scratched the tuft of hair between his ears. "Nope, can't say I know that name, do I? Never heard of him around here. Not likely, no, sir." Maul shifted his gaze across the mess hall to the 2 gangs that had come together when the explosions had gone off in the kitchen. In the ensuing moments, they loosened up and spread out again slightly, but the social fabric was still clear enough. One crew had gathered in the far right corner, near the place where inmates had come spilling into the hall from the cafeteria line, maybe 2 dozen in all. This group was all human, their heads shaved, their ears and noses pierced with what looked like bits of bones. Maul could tell that, just from the way they were standing, that they were holding something hidden in their uniforms, inside their sleeves tucked up into their tunics. Something sharp and secret. Across the room, a second group stood. A human and non-human mix with a vicious-looking Nogru positioned in the front of them, clearly their leader. They'd all cut the right sleeves off their uniforms to expose a series of matching tattoos that had spiraled from wrist to shoulder. At first glance, they were a more random ragtag group, and it made them look primitive and dangerous. Their gaze shifted from Maul to the other group, and back to Maul again. "What about them?" Maul asked. "The 2 crews? Bone Kings and the Gravity Massive. Vast Nailhead runs the Kings." He nodded at the enormous, thickly bearded human with sharpened incisors. "And the Gravity Massive answers to Strabo over there." He switched his attention to a hairless, gray-skinned Nogri at the opposite side, accompanied by an attentive Nelvanian sidekick. "Me, personally, I wouldn't go messing around with none of them, brother. Don't know much besides killing, do they? And even that's a stretch for most of them, isn't it?" "And the Twi'lek?" Maul said. "What's his name?" "Twi'lek?" Coil blinked. "Got no name, doesn't he? Not one I've ever heard. We just call him Zero, don't we?" "Zero? As in inmate 0, on account of he's been here from the beginning?" "Why is he protected?" Coil gave a shrug. "Zero's always been the one who can get things done." "What things?" "He's the one with 3 eyes. Maul frowned. 3 eyes? "Items, influence, and information." Another shrug from the Chadra fan, who was back to sorting through his collection of small bones. "Always been that way, hasn't it? Least I've been here." Maul turned to direct his stare at the place the Twi'lek had been standing when the explosion had gone off in the kitchen. Now he was gone, as if he'd simply vanished amid the rest of Gen Pop. If I wanted to find him again, where would I look? "Who, Zero?" The Chadra fan considered. "Oh, I suppose he's been known to visit Ventilation Conduit 11 AZR. It may be one place he's been known to entertain visitors from time to time. Of course, that's just hearsay, isn't it? Nothing guaranteed, is there?" Conduit 11AZ on. Maul repeated. That's right, but Maul had already turned and walked away. So that was our reading for tonight. What do we think? This one wasn't as bad. Those two chapters were not as violent. As violent. But hey, we might get more violence on Wednesday. So, yeah. What do we think so far of Maul Lockdown? It's definitely, I'm already liking it. It's kind of weird that we're reading like 2 prison books in a row. I have to change up my book talk reading. I'm not really into like the prison ones. No, I want to find, so I'm looking for a book talk recommendation that is, I don't know, if you're attracted to the 2 guys from Hershey Park with their masks, they're like skeleton masks. Yeah, I want to see them. I want a book talk recommendation like them. Haven't been able to find one yet. We'll see. So anyway, as of right now, guys, I am mostly done with my armor. So I've printed out all but the bottom. I think it's the bottom I'm missing for my armor, which is getting close to being done, so I can wear it for GalaxyCon Richmond, which is coming up here in a month. Oh my gosh, a month and a half. I don't have enough time. Hayden Christensen's gonna be there though, so yay. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. That's stoked. Unfortunately, as I discovered, Tiny Mando broke my resin printer, which I need for my gauntlets. Because the rockets and stuff like that, because they have so many small bits, I have to print them on the resin printer so I don't have to do a whole lot of sanding. And Mini Mando broke my resin printer. Yay! So excited. She was up here not that long ago. I was working and she was underneath the table where I keep my printers. And I didn't really realize at first what she was doing. She kept lifting up the table with her feet, because it's not very heavy. And she kept pushing on the table and like shaking the table. And it apparently jostled resin out of the printer, out of the vat, and got all over the insides. Like, it's all in the electronics of the printer. Yeah. So that's fun. Yeah. So I had to buy a new printer, a new resin printer, which I did not want to do. I just paid off my credit card. I didn't want to add more to my credit card because I'm trying to get my armor done. I'm trying to get these pieces done. Yeah, so I had to get a whole new resin printer. So, if anybody wants some resin prints, I am selling resin prints right now. Or 3D prints in general. Honestly, if you need a helmet printed, I will happily print you a helmet. And send it to you. Yeah. And I'm currently waiting on my wig. I contacted the seller to get my wig for my Padme costume so that I can have that ready, because ooh, meeting Hayden Christensen in the hot dress. Oh, I'm so excited. But I'm also like super nervous at the same time, because I'm very nervous about wearing this costume in public. It's all fun, well, nice and good, and I look really cute in it and everything like that, but I am super nervous to wear this Padme dress in public because people suck. And I know that people take terrible liberties with people in costumes. And so I am like super nervous that I'm gonna get accosted in the kit. Yeah, I need an Anakin. Like, I need someone to cosplay as Anakin. That's really, or Ahsoka. I guess Ahsoka would kind of make sense. No, the only one that would make sense with that is Anakin. I do have a friend that does Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know if he's going to GalaxyCon Richmond yet, but if he is, that would be really... I might have him escort me around. Yeah, Handmaiden would be good. Well, no, because she doesn't... There's no handmaidens, right? Like, when she wears the black corset dress, she's just her and Anakin. Just them together. So... We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Because I honestly... I need a guard. I need a guard. And I'm gonna get my poster finally signed by Hayden. I'm not gonna do the photo op this time. I'm gonna do the autograph. And I don't know, we'll see. I want to do Art the Clown with Mini Mando, but that's like $200, so I don't know. I don't think we're gonna end up doing that. Yeah, I would really like to have Mini Mando get to meet Art the Clown. She loves Art the Clown, despite having never seen Terrifier. Art the Clown, it's from the Terrifier films. It's a horror film franchise. He's a scary clown. Arguably, Art the Clown is more terrifying than Pennywise. Yeah. I might just have him meet David Howard Thornton. Or if I can find someone to split the cost of, like, the photo op with Art the Clown, that would be really great. But I need to find someone who is willing to split the cost of that. Because $200 is a lot of money! Yeah, that I don't have. I didn't even look and see how much the Hayden... Let me, while I'm thinking of it. And how much is the Hayden autograph gonna run me? I mean, it's worth it. Worth it. Oh. The Ultimate Hayden Christensen Package. Hey! Does anybody want to buy me the Ultimate Hayden Christensen package? It's only $875. Oh my goodness. Maybe I won't be getting it. Never mind. I don't think I'm gonna be getting an autograph. They're too expensive. What's a premium item? Yeah. Yep. Never mind. I'm not getting anything signed by Hayden. Unless I can do a payment plan. Holy cannoli. They want $300. $300. Guess I'm not going. Anybody know where I can sell some feet pictures? I'm willing to sell feet pictures for Hayden Christensen. I don't even have nice feet. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. Oh well. That would be like blowing my entire bonus on just that. And I don't even know when I'm getting my bonus, if I'm getting my bonus. So, oh well. I'd have to buy it now if I was gonna do it. Yeah, they don't. So, at least with AwesomeCon, when I paid for, like, the photo shoot with AwesomeCon, they had a thingy. Like, AwesomeCon had a thingy where I could pay over time for that. Guess GalaxyCon doesn't have that. Oh well. Guess Mini Mando gets to do Art the Clown, because that's cheaper than getting an autograph from Hayden Christensen. Next time. Put it on your credit card? I don't want to put more stuff on my credit card. The government is shut down again, so not getting paid again. Yay. Half our household income. Yeah. I know that would give me the payment plan, but yeah, I don't want to put more. Like, the printer was on there because I can make money with the printer, although I don't currently have any commissions at the moment for the resin printer. I have commissions on my regular 3D printer, which I need to get to printing, but yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Maybe I'll get lucky and there'll still be a session open closer to the day, and I will have got my bonus. Yeah. I mean, my performance evaluation was good. That was weird. My boss gave me an exceeds expectations on my performance evaluation. I was, like, pretty much certain that I was gonna get, like, a needs improvement, because my boss is always super, super hard on us. She's quite mean. She's very mean. For no reason whatsoever. And then, like, she'll insult you. Like, she'll tell you, like, you're a despicable human being in, like, corporate words. And then, like, 10 minutes later be like, but don't take it personally. Be like, ma'am, you just insulted me personally. How am I supposed... You just launched into personal attacks because I didn't make the font correct in an email. That actually happened. And, yeah. Yeah, that one was probably my favorite. She did not like the size of the font in an email. It was an email template that I had been using for 2.5, 3 years. And she decided to lay into me because I used the wrong size font in an email. Yeah. So, anyway, Moses! So, anyway, I'm gonna go to bed because I'm tired and I'm still not feeling great. I hope everybody stays safe, everybody stays warm. I will be on live Wednesday. I am not going to go live tomorrow because I have class tomorrow night. But I will be live on Wednesday, and I will probably be live on Thursday because Friday is D&D. Yay! So if you're not already following me on the other apps, make sure you're following me on the Tube of You and the Purple app, because that's where we stream our D&D sessions, and also make sure you're following the Gaming Trucker, because I cannot always promise that it's going to work on mine. It hates me sometimes. I'm gonna see if I can get it working this time. I don't know. I might have figured it out for my streaming. Mindless is really good at this, so he's gonna show me how to fix it so I can stream the D&D stuff on my channels. But anyway, I hope you have a good night. Love y'all. Stay safe. Mwah. And that same goes for you guys. Hope you're still here, Adaptive Gamer. Hope you get some sleep, and I hope your pot noodle was very